Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel, and me and Allison worked on strategies number 5 and number 16. Strategy number 5 is Realia strategies. So, what exactly is Realia? Realia is physical objects from everyday life. So, this is things like household items, clothing, food, things like that. Things that we can physically hold in our hands and show to our class and say, this is this specific thing, right? And describe it to them, tell them about it, right? And somehow we have to tie that in with the specific content that we're trying to talk about. All right, we want to use Realia to develop and reinforce ideas that our students already have. So this can be used to teach things like vocabulary. So not only can it be used, right, for example, for ELLs, right, they know what an apple is, right, and if we show them an apple, right, we point to it and we tell them this is an apple, right, and that is the English definition of an apple. Expands their vocabulary for them, right, and if maybe they're seeing something completely new for the first time and you're now teaching them, you're showing it to them physically, and then you're also telling them, okay, this is what it does, this is what it's for, and then you're describing to it, and they're able to expand their vocabulary that way. Realia can also be used for storytelling, right? So if we are going through a passage, we can show them specific items that are being talked about in the passage, and they can easily, figure it out and learn from that. It's also a sensory experience, right? Having these things physically in front of you is a very different experience than just describing the thing. And I'll get to an example of that later. But yeah, it's very important to be able to see and touch and feel and understand that what these things really look like um, for our students. Now, the important thing about this as a teacher is to understand what kind of opportunities do you have to use Realia in your content, right? So basically, you want to go through all your content. You want to look at XYZ areas that you can use Realia, right? You can pull something out, you can have it, and you can show it to them, and it can just be a very consistent way of teaching and showing them so that they can see it in more ways, more than just one way. Um, One good example of this that I thought of was geography. So if you have a globe on your desk, right, and you're able to spin it around, whatever, and you're able to point out different regions of the world, right, you can show different continents, different states, different countries, different ocean areas, right, where different historical events are happening. Maybe there's a place where some historical person was born, right, and you're able to show them where that happened. Things like that can be just like very simple. It's a very simple thing, but it can be a good way to just tell something more, right? Show something more. It's also important to make sure all these items are easily stored and organized, right? You're keeping them with the specific content that they go with, and they can be easily accessed and taken care of. Another thing is you want to collaborate with other teachers on Realia, on how you use it and how they use it, so that you can understand different ways to describe major themes in your content so that your students can have an easier time understanding, right? Maybe using one form of Realia isn't as good as using a different one. Or maybe you had one area where you didn't have any Realia, but this other teacher hadn't had something, and now you can use it for both of them, and you're able to share and interchange and collaborate and work together to help your students as much as you can. Another thing that you can do is you can assess your students by using Realia. This can be something as simple as you show them an object. Can you name it? Can you compare this object with another one? Can you tell me a story about the specific object that I am showing you, right? And I think that's really cool. Of now you're getting your student to think more deeply about the different things that they're seeing, and they're describing more to you, and that can just be very helpful in their in their learning experience. Now, for my specific example, I would want to I'm studying chemistry, and I'm getting my secondary education certificate in that to teach high school chemistry. I found it kind of hard to figure out how exactly I could use, a household item. They're, it's just not, they don't really intermix well, and it's kind of hard to figure out. I'm sure there's some ways that it could work, but I couldn't really figure it out. So instead, I just went with the structure of an atom, right? I can definitely figure out a way to physically show the structure of an atom and how that operates and works well for students. So specifically, for the structure of an atom, right? You have the central nucleus, right? And you can show, okay, we have this here. This is the Bohr model, and in the middle, that's the nucleus with the protons and neutrons. Protons have a positive charge, neutrons have no charge. And outside of that, these rings, that is the electron cloud where electrons sit on the ring. But in reality, right, atomic orbitals have much different, much more complex shapes. And if I try to describe that, it won't go too well. I can try and I can do my best, but I think it's a lot easier if I show, physical objects that have the specific shape of the different atomic orbitals. So this atomic orbital set, I believe it's specifically 3D printed, but it has each of the different orbitals. So you have an s orbital, and that's just a sphere, right? Pretty easy to describe, right? But then you have a p orbital, and that's like kind of like a bow tie with a bulbous side sticking out. Then it sits vertically and horizontally, and then it sits forward and backwards. And then you have d orbitals, which are even more complicated. So you have two p orbitals pushed together, and then it's sat kind of like a plus sign, and then it sits like an X, and it's sat down, right, with the different orientations of how the p orbitals sit within space compared to each other, which is just a very difficult thing to describe to students. And honestly, it would be a nightmare to try and consistently have that be a good way to work out each and every time. But because of how abstract it is, it's just nicer to just have it right there, right out in front of them, and it can be just much easier for the students to grasp an idea of what these specific atomic orbitals look like. Now, reflecting on Realia as a strategy, why is it so good? Why does it work? Physical demonstrations, really, that's the big thing for me. Is just you have these physical items that you're holding out in front of you. It can be easier to help uh, pull students' attention, and they're able to focus in more on this thing. And you're now describing it, and it's easier to kind of understand because you can use it sort of as a tool for educating your students. Of course, it's a great way to enhance vocabulary because not only can you reinforce previous knowledge that they already have, but open them up to new things, right? Showing them new sort of items and giving them more vocabulary. And also ease of understanding. Like my atomic orbital example, it's a very complicated process as to why that works and why we kind of think of them as a ball and how all of those orbitals are smushed together in one sort of sphere. But with the physical model, it would make it a lot easier to describe that to students and to give them that knowledge. It can also be an attention grabber, right? It's very easy to keep students engaged when you have a physical item and you're holding it, it's moving, and you're describing it because it's easier to track and understand. Another way that Realia can be used is also field trips are a form of Realia, and you're giving them this real life experience, showing them physical places where they can learn more about this stuff. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Allison. I am talking about Strategy 16, Bilingual Books and Labels. What are bilingual books and labels? Who can do this, and why is it important? Why is it important? By providing books written in the student's native language and the language they are learning, you are allowing them to make connections to the new words and words they are already familiar with. This allows them to make connections and in their head better understand the words and how to pronounce them. You're also giving them an opportunity to process the words without fear of embarrassment, and they can practice at their own pace. They're able to digest the information in their own time. They aren't feeling pressured or rushed or anything to come up with an answer right away. This is an example of a bilingual poster talking about drinking water in a timely manner to be considerate. So as you can see on the bottom, it says, be considerate, count 1 alligator, 2 alligator, 3 alligator, stop and give a friend his turn. Now it's going to say the exact same thing on the other side, but I believe in Spanish. So you can make the connection of alligator to crocodilo. So sorry if I didn't say that right. Sorry. You also can see the water of water and agua. Students would be able to make that connection and to better understand what water and agua, make that connection that agua means water, water means agua, vice versa. You also may want to make the connection of drink and bever. Both things would be really important just in your everyday life because water is obviously very important. Next, who can use bilingual books and labels? Bilingual books and labels were meant for everyone. There is not a specific, you can't use it, only they can. There's not an issue with this. Anyone is able to use it. Teachers, parents, anyone. Whether or not you're an English speaking teacher who is teaching students who are trying to learn English, or you're a bilingual teacher helping out that teacher, helping the students learn English. Anyone is able to work with these tools. These tools are designed to set up students for success. Just some interesting facts. One thing that I thought was really interesting that I learned in the textbook about bilingual books and languages is that there's an estimated of 50% of languages that we use today that will no longer be used or in dangers of going extinct during this century. I truly think that is an insane thing because it makes me wonder how many languages were once used that we don't even know about anymore because they have went extinct. And why have these languages become extinct? What is making them go out of use anymore? One thing that's really more centered towards bilingual students is that they have a quicker reaction time in certain games and puzzles. I don't know, I loved playing games and puzzles growing up, so I have definitely played this one where you have to say the color, but it's written in a different word. So for this, you would be saying purple, red, green, blue. Bilingual students it has been shown that they have a quicker processing time because they see the color before they read the word sometimes. So they have a quicker processing speed, which I think is really interesting. I think it says a lot of how their mind processes stuff, how they see the color before they ever think of the word itself. Alrighty, so let's play a game. I thought this was really interesting. So on this screen, we're going to have 4 words. These words are written in German. Now, the stuff next to it, I made my boyfriend guess and see what his thoughts were, because I thought it was really interesting of what someone who does not speak any German would guess these words for me. So for the first one, he guessed hand. Second one, he guessed bed. Third, he guessed ice cream. And then fourth one, he guessed decorate. So I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to guess what you think these words would mean, and then the next slide we're going to go over what they mean. Alrighty, hope everyone has their guesses. Okay, so for the first one, it means shirt. The second one meant bed. Third one means ice cream, and the fourth one means blankets. Oh, did not write that. Yes, the fourth one does mean blankets. So sorry. So these are kind of like 2 examples of bilingual books and bilingual labels. So for the labels, you would see that it would be right underneath it. It would have the English word and then the whatever your native language. So in this case, the German word. So I thought this was really cool to be able to see the differences and similarities that the English language and the German language kind of have the same. Like favorite and the favorite. So sorry again if I pronounce any of these wrong. Never have spoken German, so thought it was just a very interesting language. Um, just like my and min, so sorry. I thought they were just really interesting about the similarities that these languages have, and that's something that bilingual speakers can use to really make that connection in their head, because once you see min and my, you probably can make the assumption after a few times of seeing it, make that connection that, hey, these 2 words mean the same thing. Same thing with itch and I. You would be able to, after a few times of seeing that, be able to make that connection of, hey, these 2 look similar. Same thing with ice cream and ice cream. I think those 2 words kind of look similar. Now when it comes to like shirt and blanket, maybe even bed, they do look pretty different. But for the bilingual books, we're going to see that sometimes bilingual books will have like a paragraph written in German, Spanish, whatever language it is, that native language, and the second paragraph is going to be written in the English language. Again, this just helps make that connection, makes them familiarized with the English words compared to their native language words. It really helps the mind grasp the similarities in both. There we go. And this is our final slide, is the reflection. Just giving the students the opportunity to grow and become more confident in themselves is such an important job of teachers. Using the books bilingual books and labels, you are really setting the students up for success and giving them the best opportunity that they have to familiarize themselves with the English language or whatever language you're trying to learn as easily as you can. I think giving them as many opportunities and tools to do this is super important because learning a new language, especially English, can be extremely difficult. I think setting them up will not only setting up for success and giving them these tools will not only help them right now, but it also will help them build their confidence in themselves because they will know which tools to go to and kind of help give them the confidence to overcome the challenges in the future and something that they may not be completely sure about. They will have the tools and resources to turn to figure out what words mean what and stuff like that, and using their context clues to be able to figure things out that they may not know, and that way they can work out problems within themselves without having to turn to other people because that will help build their confidence and they'll feel more confident in what they're doing, knowing that they are getting the problems right. Thank you guys so much.